So I had already found that out, went on and said, that can't be true, that can't be me. Found out about 2 years later when I finally got help and went to rehab. What does it mean when you have a tar-like substance? And they go, that's blood mixed with stomach acid. Into my head, I'm like, yeah, I already knew that. I guess I just wanted to hear a doctor say it to me.
Hey, Blue Grit, we are back this week. Your co-host, Clint McNear, and
Tyler Owen.
Tyler Owen. What's going on in your
Man,
world?
living the dream. Just blowing and going, sessions in full swing. And so it's picked up all of our efforts to continue the Tmpa mission. And so our alleged team is continuing to, I don't want to use the word fight, but continue to raise awareness of what we do there at the Capitol and the bad bills and good bills, and TLEX in full force every single Monday or Tuesday at 9 a.m. And so, man, we're just, it's busy around TMPA.
It is busy.
Big successful event. The y'all had Galveston at the Mardi Gras, and then we had the motorcycle rodeo there in Round Rock. And so hats off to Round Rock POA, step into success and Round Rock Police. And then looks like y'all had an uneventful Galveston as far as the law enforcement side of things.
It was pretty tame. So for folks that don't know, Galveston's Mardi Gras is the second largest in the United States.
Yes.
It takes probably 30 different agencies to work that event. But what's really cool about it is it's wild, it's sporty, it's what you would want to see in a Mardi Gras. But it's not, I mean, everybody's drinking, having a good time, and they're doing the Mardi Gras things that you expect at Mardi Gras, but you don't see like street brawls and the 18-year-old drunk bowing up and all of that. It's pretty freaking tame. And I don't know if it's they respect Galveston PD handles business or people are just there to have a good time. But, man, it's a freaking cool event, and the whole island does a great job of
they do, man. It's definitely a different culture down there. But what I thought was cool about it was, man, we'd been on there for several years now and started serving lunch. Because it's, I think, 800,000 people come to the island over the 2-week time period.
It's a ton.
But I was shocked of how many agencies that were not just in Galveston County that come to assist. Montgomery County, Harris County, Houston PD's on scene. I mean, all these different agencies come together. And so we've said it on this podcast many times, but different patches, same mission. They don't give a damn if it's in their county or not. When Galveston reaches out and they need help, they're coming. And so it was pretty neat to see that. You don't see those interconnections very often and be successful, and you can just tell the brotherhood is still alive.
Yeah, they work smooth together. And I didn't take my glasses there, and you could see all these different patches when they were coming down the line, and I'm trying to read patches, but there's just every different color, every different style of patch, and they work seamlessly together.
It was cool.
Freaking cool to watch.
It was cool. Well, we've got a very, 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 very special guest today. Once you intro him, and it'll be I don't want to say it's going to be a sad one. I think it's a successful story, honestly. But it was heart-wrenching for me to listen to your story and of what you went through, and then to see you come out on top. It's remarkable.
Yep. It's a story of strength and courage and resiliency. And we have Gordon from Dallas PD on, our brother over at ATO Bridging the Divide podcast, helped us make this happen. Welcome aboard, brother.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
How was your drive down?
It was shockingly quick. I mean, I figured it was going to be about 3 hours with no traffic.
Yeah.
So I gave myself about a 4-hour window, and it took exactly 3 hours to get down here. I was like, I figured it's Austin. It's the middle of the week. There's going to be traffic. Nope, there was zero.
I felt like shit because you texted me and said, hey, we're on the way. And I was thinking, I'm going to judge it right. Of course, I leave the house extra early to get here. It was an hour and a half for me to get to work, and I live here close. So, but man, we can't appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys asking me to come on down.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of updates since your podcast. By the way, if you haven't heard Gordon's story, ATO's podcast episode, I don't know what number it is, but it is it's pretty remarkable. We're going to touch on those points today, but there's been some updates since that podcast.
Yep. We'd like to kick it off with, who the hell's Gordon? Where were you born? Tell us who you are. Tell us about where Gordon's from.
So I originally grew up in Southern California, ended up moving to Texas because my family's job ended up moving over to Texas, lived in Flower Mound for several years. When I ended up graduating high school, I went on ahead and moved to Arlington, went to school out there for about 1.5 years, 2 years, moved on back home for a very short while. Then ended up joining on with Dallas PD. Moved up to far north Dallas. It was not as the country club like they were saying. It was actually a lot more hectic up there just living than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
And then from there, I ended up just moving in and around the Metroplex.
And graduated from high school where?
Flower Mound High School. There's two in Flower Mound if people are aware of that, and it was the Jaguars, not the Marauders.
That town has exploded. Flower Mound, the Colony, those towns have exploded.
Oh, it's gotten massive. When we first moved in, Main Street going north towards Highland Village, it was just all dirt roads,
Yep.
trees, country. Now it's just, you wouldn't even believe that there used to be pastures out there.
And you can't tell where the city stops and where Flower Mound starts. I mean, where Dallas and all those cities out there, Garland, Carrollton, all of them.
So what was life like growing up?
Growing up, it was very average, very peaceful. Didn't get in a lot of trouble. You got just the regular curfew. I mean, technically we did run from the cops, but when we ran from the cops, it was more for inadvertent criminal trespass because there was a game that we had called Fugitive. And what would happen is we would end up having a starting point, and that would be the fugitives. They would get a 5-minute head start to a location that was randomly picked that's about 2 to 3 miles away. You take off on foot, and then you got the captors trying to come find you. And I mean, game was on. There was no rules. Like, people would be hanging on the side of SUVs, jumping off of them, try to tackle you to get you in custody again. So you're taking back roads, alleys, over fences, trying to get over there. Flower Mound PD absolutely hated that game because of just all of us in high school that would end up playing it.
Yeah, I learned we were wrapping houses and Plano Police Department rolled by, and for whatever reason, somebody screamed run, and so we ran. And I learned that you can get under a boat, a V-hull boat, and lay under the trailer and suck your body up to the boat. And I took it as training how to search better when I was a police officer. I wasn't running from the police. I was young, trying to learn better ways to search for someday when I became a police officer. So I would like to
Point that out. How long ago was
I was probably 14, 18, wrapping houses with toilet paper.
Yeah.
The best part was running from the police. We didn't realize we were running from the police until all of a sudden we heard them screaming, "It's the police!" And we're like, "Oh crap!" Because we thought it was our friends still chasing us and all of that.
Well, that's what I meant.
Because I was always at about 1, 2.
You wouldn't want to roll at somebody's house now with the price of toilet paper.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's an investment. Yeah, that's an investment for sure.
Nobody's egging houses.
Hell no, that shit ain't happening now. That'd be $55, $60 per house. So
graduated Flower Mound. What Gordon do after high school?
After high school, I ended up going to UTA, University of Texas, Arlington.
Good school.
I ended up leaving after about 1.5 to 2 years to go on ahead and change my degree. One main reason was I was actually asked to leave Arlington. Not for anything bad or anything like that. My grades weren't great because I always studied incredibly hard because the retention for me has always been difficult. So the day before my final exams, and I was originally going into kinesiology, so I was taking all the main ones and then that's the core courses. Yeah. So I was taking anatomy, physiology, everything like that. That was like primarily focused on that degree. So the day before the exam, for some reason, all of my exams were on the exact same day in the morning.
Wow.
So I'm cramming all night long. I go to take about 1.5 hour nap so then I could wake up and go start taking my exams. I blinked and it was about 4 p.m. and I missed every exam.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. And some of those classes, the final exam was weighted 75%.
Tyler and I don't like to call that being asked to leave. We like to call it being encouraged to seek better opportunities.
Yeah, better opportunities. Yeah.
So after I got asked to find better opportunities, there we go, involuntarily, I ended up going to some community colleges, and I was getting my core courses because I was like, okay, I'm going to start. What else do I want to do? I took that as an L. I was like, okay, maybe kinesiology is not for me. So I started looking at criminal justice. And
did you happen to go to Harvard on the Hill and North Lake College? No.
No. Well, I did go.
Community
I did go to Northlake, so Northlake and NCTC.
There you go.
Yeah, the two different community colleges that I was going
There you
to go on ahead and start knocking out my core classes. I don't know where the Harvard is. It called Harvard on the Hill? I've never heard that nickname for it.
Gordon, there's some things in life that you just got to embrace, and the fact that I knew I would never be going to Harvard, and so that's what I referenced Northlake was Harvard on the Hill in Irving, Texas, because I knew that it was going to be nothing greater than where I went to college. Yes, yeah, I went to Northlake as well.
Yep, I had I went to that main campus over there, and then I believe they had their the southern campus over in Capel, like off of 121, and then the NCTC one. It was a satellite campus that I was going to. That was in Flower Mound, in I think it's called Park Square, over there. I just started taking a bunch of classes, mostly night courses.
In what degree were you looking at?
I was looking at criminal justice.
Okay, you switched it. Okay,
I switched it over to criminal justice. I was like, okay, I don't know what.
Once again, better opportunities.
Well, the opportunity ended up coming knocking down my my classroom door on one of my night classes because Dallas PD recruiter ended up showing up. He looked incredibly exhausted and just burnt out, and ended up giving one of the most horrifically brutal, honest descriptions of working for Dallas PD. That should never be a pitch. But listening to him, I was like, that actually sounds pretty interesting. I actually got drawn in by that, while a lot of people got turned off in the class by it.
Yeah, he looks miserable. I'd like to be a part of that.
Yes. Sign me up. Sign me up.
So after he ended up leaving, next day, ended up waking up, put in my application, and about 6 months later, next thing I knew, I was sitting my butt into the academy.
That's awesome.
Any family, anybody in law enforcement prior to that?
No, I'm the only one in my entire family that anywhere down the line that I can even recall that's been police.
Prior to the wary recruiter coming in, had it ever crossed your mind? Had you ever entertained it?
So I had to entertain the idea, but just as a small kid. I mean, we had growing up in California, you had NYPD, and just like how sharp their uniforms all looked. So I mean,
but you didn't look at LAPD.
No, I did not look at LAPD.
Just throwing it out there.
They didn't give me the brutal, honest recruiting pitch.
Like I said, brutal. It was different time.
But that was the only time I'd ever considered it. And again, it was just because I was a small kid and saw the cool, crisp uniform, how they held themselves. I was like, that looks pretty cool. But outside of that, I had never considered it until the recruiter came into the classroom.
What year did you go to the academy?
I ended up going in on March 12th, 2014.
Talk about the life of being an academy cadet for DPD, because that's kind of where they build the character. And I've heard like DPS's academies very much tear them down, build them back up, and DPD's probably is similar. But man, there's so much history with Dallas, and there's so much pride. Every time I talk to a DPD guy, they reference the class number, and there's a brotherhood really that whenever you graduate, the sense Clint's father being a Dallas cop, retired Dallas cop. Talk about the pride sense that you had by going through the academy, and talk about what it felt like going through there, and then compare that to when you were at UTA.
Oh, you mean the academy where we were class 338? Got to train to be great.
There you go. There you go.
So the life in the academy, I mean, so you would show up 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You would get to go home. It's not like DPS where you end up getting positioned on campus day and night to be there. But day one for us, I mean, you show up, you're in your suit, your tie, they end up welcoming you, and then they immediately start running you in your full suit. You just begin and it's sweaty and dirty. Hit the ground, go on ahead and start doing push-ups with that. That ain't even breakout day yet. Breakout day is when they finally go on ahead and they issue you the PT gear, and that's when they just start running you ragged. And didn't really understand it at the time, but I did afterwards as to why are all these random officers showing up on breakout day? They're not any instructors. They're not that. They just wanted to watch us doing bear crawls and getting thrown on the ground and tripping and falling. Being told we can't do a jumping jack, right?
No. How many in class 338?
Can't remember. I think we had 42. We had 42 that ended up starting, and we had something around 36, 38 that ended up actually making it all the way through the academy.
Damn, that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty decent compared to academy size.
Yeah.
So did you know where you were going after the academy? Like what section, what sector?
So they end up telling you that I think it's a week before graduation. They end up going ahead and telling you this is going to be the station that you're going to end up working at, and just so that you can end up having an idea on how to get to work after you end up graduating. I think they've changed it up a bit since since I've gone through with how the recruits get positioned now. But for us, I mean, I think it's a week between graduating and then actually starting at the station, like a downtime or something like that. Ours, it was, if your trainer's weekend is Monday, Tuesday, you graduated on Friday, well, Saturday you've got to go into work because that's your trainer's day. But those first 2 days are station orientation, where you're being driven around the entire division by two very senior officers.
Gotcha.
Giving you an idea. Hey, this is how you get to jail. This is the quartermaster. This is the prop room, which you will never remember for the life of you because you're too busy being in uniform in a car going, oh, wow, this is all brand new to me.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I mean, you end up getting a little bit of downtime in between if you're lucky on where your FTO's days off would be. But pretty much right after the academy, you end up going straight into it.
Gotcha. So you get transferred to what section, and talk about life after the academy, and you're now a certified Dallas police officer in training, and talk about life.
I'm the police.
You were the police.
So when I ended up graduating, I ended up going to the Central Division, which is just the dead center of the entire city. It encompasses downtown, a little bit of, or most of all of uptown, a little bit of South Dallas, where you got the Fair Park, Tennyson Park, and then you go out east a little bit, where you're touching on parts of Northeast, which would almost collide with a bit of Garland. My very first day, I didn't get to experience that all that much because my very first day, along with many of my other classmates, we got to experience our very first protest.
Oh, wow. That's a way to start.
It was the very first time that, at least I got told by my trainer, it was the very first time that they had ever actually successfully taken over I-30. So when they ended up...
we have for people watching that have been trying to figure out why I'm texting, we have a surprise guest coming on.
How's it going?
This is now assistant city manager, Eddie Garcia. And when he was the former Dallas police chief, and he's very, very much a part of this conversation. Yeah, grab your head.
Chief, I know you're short on time. I just wanted to have this moment.
Yeah.
No, are you kidding me?
Good to see you, Chief.
It's good to see you. You look fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You look fantastic. Look how great he looks.
I didn't mean to throw a wrench and a surprise on you here, but I've been working. I was praying I could make this.
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is great. It's fantastic. Great to see you. How you doing?
I've been good. I've been doing really good.
Supervising, keeping kids in check?
Well, I mean, when I ended up on the last bid, I ended up going up to Northwest, and Taylor, he ended up actually allowing me to be the proactive supervisor over Third Watch, and it's been continuing since. And I mean, I still remember what you ended up whispering in my ear, if you don't mind me saying it. You ended up telling me
that is exactly what that is.
No, go ahead.
I mean, you ended up telling me do good things for your troops. And then I like to think that I'm trying to live up to that, because I mean,
tell them all your troops, what all your troops have gone through.
That's what I was about to tell you was, I mean, you know about two of my troops that were involved in the officer-involved shooting. But what you might not have known also is from the hand-selected group that I've had, because of the record keeping that I've had on them and the stats and the pushing them, 3 of the original guys that I ended up having brought over to the proactive unit, I no longer have, because they've been selected for a task force. I've had 5 officers successfully get the Meritorious Conduct Award. I have 2 additional officers that are in the process of getting the Certificate of Merit. I've had 1 officer go on ahead and win Officer of the Year for the Stemmons Corridor. I have another officer that ended up getting Officer of the Month for the DPA. And then today, one of my other troops, who's a completely rising star, he's getting Officer of the Month as well.
Look at that.
Dude, that's
stuff.
fucking amazing.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Yep. Always knew you were going to do great things.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Always knew that.
He and I were on Joe's podcast the other day, and we were talking about you and Jeff Bryan out at Garland and people having the intestinal fortitude to invest at the risk of, if it blows up, their city manager may want to know what the hell you were thinking.
Yeah.
But it takes intestinal fortitude and leadership to invest. And then how freaking cool, and I'm trying to not get emotional, getting to see what it's done. Because a while ago, you can tell him, he was telling me in there about his troops, and he's losing them all because people are stealing them because they're doing great things. And what a testament to both of you men. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. I take no credit whatsoever. He did it all. I say that till the end of my time. He did it all, and it's a testament to your leadership. Because let's face it, man, I remember being a troop. I didn't know who the hell my chief was, but I damn well remember every sergeant I had.
Well, I mean,
and I think we could all testify to that. Like,
Yep.
I'm not quite sure I even knew or really. Well, then again, they weren't very present either back in the early 90s.
Right.
Chiefs seemed to stay in their suits and in their offices, but they remember who their sergeants are, man. So,
I mean, I've been telling my guys, even my one guy who found out he was getting the award today, he found out yesterday. I mean, he was telling me about it, and I had to remind him. I'm like, I didn't do this. You did. I was like, your hard work, your hard effort being put in makes all of this possible for each and every one of you. All I have to do is be able to put it into a memo that actually is grammatically correct, because that's my hardest thing off with memos.
Yeah. I understand that. Grammar's not my strong point either.
I thought it gets
we'll have to work on that one, brother. We might have to work on that.
But we pursued better opportunities. We went to Harvard on the Hill.
Yes.
So shout out to Northlake College there in Irving. So anyway, well, yeah, man. So you're living life as a patrolman
Yeah.
there at DPD?
Chief, do you need to pop out?
I do need to pop out. I gotta prep for
Let's get
testifying at the Capitol tomorrow. So I was definitely not gonna miss this.
You're a Dallas police officer.
Yep.
You're on patrol. I know about, obviously, and a lot of people who are watching this podcast know about what transition. Was there a point where it just kind of became a natural thing, living as a patrolman, and then kind of taking or partaking, living the lifestyle that became a burden, or was it just kind of something that developed into something?
Can you phrase that again? Sorry.
I guess what I'm saying is that you were a Dallas police officer, and then you grabbed some habits along the way.
Okay.
At what point did it become recognizable or unrecognizable to when you looked in the mirror saying, something needs to change?
Yeah, and was it, how far in your career, how long had you been on when you realized things, you were finding different ways to cope that weren't healthy?
Yeah.
I had been on for about 6 to 7 years.
Okay.
From when I very first started entering into the academy to developing bad habits, and then recognizing there's some pretty serious problem going on, but going on ahead and just pushing it to the side, burying it down. But it was probably around 6 to 7 year mark when I first started recognizing there's a bit of an issue going on.
Yeah.
Did it start out as like just choir practice? I'll just, the dudes drink when you get off shift, or was it some calls, some polarizing events, or some calls where you're like, I got to go home and get in the bottom of a bottle to move past the stress or this scene or the image? Or
so the very first time that there was a situation where that I can even think of, that I originally started drinking to go to sleep because it was probably the most horrific scene I had gone to in terms of like emotionally. It was, I mean, I'll remember the kid's name until I get dementia or until I die. His name is Paul Miltenberger. And I was on 3rd phase of training, and it was Easter Sunday morning, and he had come into town to see his folks from college. He ended up crossing the street. Guy was speeding he was going about 75 and 50, ended up just absolutely just obliterating him. He ended up hitting the street about 120 feet from the initial impact, bounced, went another additional 50 or so feet before he crashed into the tree, where he eventually passed. And the part about the scene that really haunted me and gave me nightmares and just in general prevented me from sleeping wasn't so much image of seeing Paul's body just like hugged up on the tree with his head split open. It was hearing his girlfriend, hearing his friends, hearing his family members that were screaming at the top of their lungs at the scene. I had never heard that kind of ear-piercing sorrow.
You were in third phase of training?
I was in my third phase of training.
Were you a drinker growing up, like in college and stuff? Were you a drinker or just the normal kid?
No, just the normal kid doing stupid stuff and drinking. I mean, I was in a fraternity, so I mean, it was, my fraternity prided themselves on their academic achievement. It actually kept the dean off our back. So if we partied, it might have been on the weekend or that, but really it was, look, you're going to have your grades up. Drinking isn't the point of this fraternity. So, I mean, there was some drinking, but absolutely nothing what ended up happening later on, especially after that incident, which was the first one, because I started having trouble at night sleeping just because I could hear the echoes in my head of the screams that were happening. You could actually just feel it internally, that pain, suffering, which I wasn't accustomed to that. I'll say it. I had a privilege bringing up. I mean, no real sorrow, no real horrible images or deaths in the family. I was a butcher and a deli clerk before I was police. So there was nothing that would have been able to prepare me for experiencing that. So after that night, maybe a couple of days, maybe a week later, I'd end up having a couple shots to quiet my head so that I could go to sleep. But that was the first incident of me thinking about it, of when I started using alcohol as a coping mechanism.
Gotcha. Yeah. Was there situations where it was like, would you go drink with other friends at DPD, or was it just, you would kind of just do it like, oh, this is just an alcoholic beverage here at the house, no big deal? And then talk about kind of how, when you recognized it became a problem.
So, okay, when I would first start drinking, it was mainly just by myself in my house. If I ended up going to drink with friends or that, which honestly, I became a recluse in many ways, shapes, and forms. So,
kind of from that point on in third phase FTO, or did that progress?
Like keeping myself reclused and closed off from everybody, that progressed as well. Didn't really want to go out, didn't want to talk to anybody. If somebody wanted to come over to my place, that was perfectly fine with me. But going out and drinking, I would do that on occasion.
Yeah.
But normally what I would end up doing is I'd end up pre-gaming beforehand. I would be drinking pretty heavily leading up to it. So then I'd get my Uber, I'd go out, and then it would look like I'm having only 2 or 3 drinks.
Yeah.
And really, I'm absolutely loaded at that point. So nobody's going to think, is there something wrong? Why are you drinking so much? Avoid all those questions. Or the way I ended up rewarding myself in the end, which was I would end up maybe having like 1 or 2 drinks and then Ubering, having 2 or 3 drinks there. I would then reward myself by, when I got home, having an entire bottle.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I did not drink that much while I went out.
Yeah.
I'm a good drinker. I am normal. I am stable. And now I'm drinking an entire 5th by myself.
What I do think is interesting is that the people that you were hanging out with and having these drinks with, were they in your law enforcement circle? Because oftentimes people get into this profession and, just like you said, they recluse. They distance themselves from the past friends because nobody understands what we see. Nobody understands what we've been. Nobody understands the ear-piercing sorrows that, what you went through on that third phase during FTO. And so what happens is that you push these friends aside that you've developed relationships with over years and years and years, and you either A, you recluse in, or B, you kind of form this little small pack of friends that are all cops or firemen or some kind of public safety. Is that similar kind of what happened to you, or was it friends that you'd been friends with a long time?
I pretty much had cut everybody out, both law enforcement and longtime friends. I mean, my circle went from, it was already pretty pretty tightly packed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's how I like it. I mean, keep a few close friends by. You don't need an entire crowd following you. But it became even smaller, where it was literally probably about enough to fit onto one hand. One of them was a friend that we met when he knocked me out in high school in football. That's how we first met and became friends. Like, so I would end up having some drinks with him and all of that. And then there was only 4 times maybe in that entire time that I can think were specifically cops. I went out to go hang out or drink with them. But I mean, I ended up just cutting everybody off from my entire life, just so I could end up sitting at home and drinking. If I did end up hanging out with cops and my friends who were civilians, I actually would end up having them come over to my house so that I could feel like I'm a normal drinker. I actually would end up having, I mean, a lot of people enjoyed them. They didn't realize the underlying meaning of them. I'd have a Christmas party every year at my house. I called it Merry Drunkamas. And like, I mean, I think we had like 3 or 4. I had it happen 3 or 4 times for anniversaries, just like, hey, this is number 1, 2, 3, 4. After the first one, like several officers and all that, they would end up telling me, they're like, hey, we heard about the party that you have. Like, can I end up coming next year? I'm like, of course you can come next year. The more people are there, it allowed me to feel normal, feel the warmth of everybody, but I was able to drink openly like I normally did without anybody batting an eye, because it just seemed like it was a giant party.
Yeah.
Can't remember the quote verbatim, but it was basically like, you can never feel more intimate and alone than when you're at a party with a large group of people. And that's exactly what I did. I used this large party once a year at my house to be able to gather all these friends together from across the spectrum, just so I could feel normal and abuse alcohol.
Yeah. Talk about, it's interesting you're bringing that point up, because during this, had you and your spouse, had y'all been together during this transition of you becoming a police officer, or did y'all meet during?
No, we met several years after I was already an officer. And when we ended up meeting, I was actually very far down the rabbit hole with my drinking. I was at that point of no return. I had already recognized that there's an issue, but I kept on putting it on the back burner. Every morning I'd wake up, tell myself, you're fine. You're not feeling that bad. You can do this again.
So people who turn to alcohol generally are really good at rationalizing it to themselves. How long did you rationalize it that I'm doing good, or I'm handling this, or I'm good, until you realize, damn, I think I got a freaking drinking problem?
2 years. 2 years, pretty much solidly, was the amount of time that I was drinking myself to absolute death and rationalizing that it wasn't that big of a deal, mainly because I ended up getting an actual system in place for myself so I could drink and still function at work and not be drunk at work. I mean, probably the most horrific rationalization is being in my kitchen, knowing that if I got home on time, I had a 3-hour window to drink my entire 5th of bourbon and then be able to go to sleep right there. And then by the time I wake up, get something to eat, drink some caffeine, and then head into work. I'm triple zeroed out at that point. But recognizing that on some of those nights, there would be only a few ounces of liquor left in the bottle. And my feet feel like they're planted in cement. I want to go to bed. I don't want to drink anymore. And I am actually saying out loud, I mean, it was probably the closest thing to like an emotionally disturbed person where you just see them talking to themselves. I was talking to myself in the kitchen, like saying out loud, because I thought that would make me want to walk, make me want to go to bed, saying, I don't want this drink. I don't want to drink anymore, but I can't move. The little voice in the back of my head saying, no, you got to have this drink. You got to have it or you will die. Then I'm pouring the drink and I'm saying, I don't want to have this. Still can't move. I slam back home the rest of the liquor that I had in the bottle. And then all of a sudden, this wave of relief comes over me on saying, you can go to bed.
On the next episode of Blue Grid Podcast.
I go on ahead and I'm self-medicating myself with Excedrin and easily 900 milligrams of caffeine before the end of detail. So that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm pounding back that much caffeine so that I can feel normal and stable and alert. And at that point, that's when the voice in the back of my head is going, see, it's not that bad. You're still here. You're okay. Hell no, I'm not okay. So I ended up looking it up as to what I was vomiting one day because I was like, what did I eat? Because it looked like I threw up tar. So I never had to worry about hiding the alcohol on my breath because that was a part of me figuring it out on how to be able to show up to work. So I end up shutting the door and she recognizes that there's already something wrong. There's no way I could possibly try to explain to her my mindset because my mind's all over the place as to how I got to where I was. So I broke down crying in front of her and said everything in the most incoherent way possible of needing help. And when I finished, I just told her, I don't know who I need to reach out to. I need help. Please, please help me.